Hello, everyone. Wednesday night, late night golf edition. We are here. We're ready to roll. Talk about the Desert Classic. I am Ben, joined by Jason. Same as always. What's up, man? You ready? I'll just start right off the bat. When I was researching this, it took me a while to realize this was the Career Builder. This one changes names. It feels like every year. Kind of annoying, but yeah, here we are, Desert Classic.
Yeah, you ready for this, though? This was actually the original name of the tournament back in the 60s when it first started. So I'm kind of happy that it's going back to it. It really is in the desert. I've never been out to Palm Springs before, but my family has, and they tell me, yeah, it's true desert. So I like the name change, and I hope it just stays as the Desert Classic now instead of the Humana or the Career Builder or the McGladrey. It wasn't the McGladrey, but I know they were a sponsor once. So yeah, I'm happy. It's definitely a weird tournament, and we'll get into that. But we did have some fun on last week's show. It was a lot of fun, and we had these new segments that we did, and we're just going to recap those really quick because they kind of caught on. So our Make the Cut segment, where I picked 13 golfers, and I threw it at Ben, and we picked if they're going to make the cut or not. And I thought we'd go 75%, and both of us went losing record on the week. So Ben and I will definitely try to get back on that. We're both about 5 and 8 on that one. But we made up a little bit on the matchup bets that we put out there on the show last time. We went 4 and 2, so that's pretty good on the betting side. We'll always take that. And also, of course, talked a lot about Kuchar as well. So definitely excited to get into the Desert Classic this week. And why don't you tell the guys about the 3-course rotation that we got going on? And are you going to play a stack? Are you going to play the weather angle? What are you seeing?
So yeah, just for people, if you haven't checked out the tournament, obviously check our articles. That's the first thing. But this is a weird one. So it's a Saturday cut, and that means that every golfer is going to play 3 different courses: Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Then Sunday is going to be back at the Stadium course, which is one of them. This is a Pro-Am too. It's a little weird. The whole situation makes it kind of crazy, but basically, La Quinta and the Jack Nicklaus are both very easy. The Stadium is the hardest of the 3, but overall, and I'll pass it right back to you, I don't see any major challenges across the board. They're going to tear apart. They're all par 72s. They're going to really tear apart the other 2. And then the Stadium course will serve, it's a fair test, but I don't think we're going to be seeing too many outrageously bad rounds.
Yeah, at the beginning of the week, right when I opened up.
I don't see any major challenges across the board. They're going to
what happened?
They're all par 72s. Yeah. They're going to really tear apart. I like that. Get our view count. Will serve. It's a fair test, but I don't think we're going to see too many.
Where's that coming from?
Rounds. Yeah, at the beginning of the week.
Hold on one second.
That's good.
I don't know.
I'm hearing.
I like that. Get our view count. Will serve. It's a fair test. I hear myself. It sounds good.
Where's that coming from?
Yeah, at the beginning of the week.
Check your open tabs, people.
And now it's just me. Anyway, I will talk about the courses while our man sorts that out. But basically, I've seen a lot of people in Slack ask me, are you going to play the weather angle? Are you going to play stacks?
That one was me. That was my phone.
Okay, I was going to say.
I was double checking everything, making sure everything was going well.
Perfect. But I'm not factoring in too much, to be honest. I feel like if you're playing a bunch of teams, yeah, you can make some stacks where you say, all right, I'm going to pick all the guys that start at La Quinta or start at the Stadium. Overall, in a vacuum, I think it's an advantage to start at La Quinta, not start at the Stadium. To Jack Nicklaus, it is what it is. But, overall, the guys are going to have to play Stadium course twice. I prefer it that maybe they play it back-to-back in the sense of you play Saturday, you play Sunday.
Got it. We got it. It was
in business.
It was a different browser that I didn't even know opened. Anyway, sorry about that, guys.
That's how it happens, man. But
yeah, totally my apologies. I don't even know how that happened.
No, it didn't so much.
Yeah, let's pick right back off. But all right, so at the beginning of the week, it looked like there was going to be the exact same weather pattern we saw last year, where we saw the people that started on the Stadium course get hammered, and to the point where 0 of the top 10 came from that golf course at the starting day. Again, at the beginning of the week, it looked like it was going to be that. It looked like it was going to be, rain, wind all day. Now it looks like the wind is pretty much subsiding. Looks like it is still going to rain. Obviously, it's been wet. but it doesn't look like the conditions are as bad. So I don't know that I'm putting as much stock in it. Maybe towards the higher end players, like Hadwin's going off first there. I will just pay the extra money for Cantlay. But for guys like Albertson that are teeing off on that course, I don't think I'm going to play the fade angle.
What I was saying when you were sorting that out, I'm not overly weighing it. Ideally, I wouldn't want my guys to start on the stadium course. I don't think that's the best draw, but it's more of a tiebreaker if I have guys close. I'm not going to intentionally rule people out that I like just because they don't have maybe the best lineup. It's too hard to tell. There's going to be a lot of variance just within, maybe it'll be windy at one of them, maybe not. It's hard to break down. You want to mix and match, maybe do some stacks, but I'm going to play it pretty straight up for what we're dealing with, which is a Saturday cut 3-course rotation pro-am. That doesn't set the table in a vacuum.
No, and certainly the pro-am is gonna play right into one of my favorites, Patrick Cantlay, who's notoriously a really slow player. But so we'll get into that. Some of the tee times, as we like to kind of note, because it's really funny if you go back and look at the first round scores. If you get like an Adam Svensson who went off to a 9 under, look at the 2 guys he played with. Also, both played very well. So, like to kind of sometimes go over the tee times that we're going to see this week. And this week we actually see Jon Rahm going off with Chez Reavie. They're going off on, I believe, the Nicklaus course to start. So, any tee times that met your fancy or that you were taking a look at, and are you interested in stacking a Jon Rahm and Chez Reavie? Because it is all twosomes. I didn't know if I forgot to mention that. It's twosomes because of the Pro-Am. So do you look at that a little bit more to feed off each other, or you don't play that angle at all?
I don't do it too much. I will say, though, I do think I don't have, obviously, data to quantify. I do think there is something to that. You get in a groove. It's not just in a traditional, normally it's 3 guys going out. When I stack tee times, there are times where I'll look to get a couple guys, 2 out of 3 in a group and say maybe they can all go low and whatnot. So yeah, Chez and Rahm obviously both going to be popular. I know we're going to be diving into a bunch of stuff, of course. What are you, just right off the bat, I'd love to know, are you trying to make it a priority to go get Rahm, or are you going to take a discount on more often than not?
Yeah, I gotta be honest. I'm probably gonna have Cantlay or Rahm in 150 of my MME lineups at this point. Wow. Not stacked, obviously. Yeah. It's really hard to stack them. I probably will do it just a few times, just in case they end up battling it out on Sunday. Which honestly, we don't see that happen that often, where 2 of the 3 studs in the field end up going head to head on Sunday. Of course, we'll get it sometimes, but it's pretty much. The top 3, you got to pick one to fade because you can't play them all, really. So I just go with Rahm, who I think has a little bit better form. But it's a great lead-in question. As we highlighted last week, we did a segment where I had you kind of buy or sell. You're going to go for the rumor that I'm pitching to you or sell it. And Justin Rose is at the top of it this week. He's debuting the new Honma clubs. And if I pronounce it wrong, guys, I've said to you in the past, it's bad. So we saw Paul Casey do it the last 2 weeks. We brought it up last week on the show. He ended up missing the cut here. Who knows if that's an equipment thing, but Rose will be at least 10 clubs in the bag, may debut their new putter. But the thing about his contract is he can play any putter and any driver he wants. So that's really something to take a look at. But are you buying the wait and see approach with the new iron deal, or are you going to go right back in?
So, and this is DFS in a nutshell. I certainly think it's a wait and see. But everybody else also thinks that, this is getting some steam. And then it becomes, if Justin Rose is a 4th of the ownership of Rahm and Cantlay, now I'm like, well, is it that big of a deal? I don't know. All in all, in my high stakes lineups, I'm not going to Rose. I just think there's too much there. It's very possible that he is treating this kind of as, it's early in the year. He wants to get a feel. He's getting growing pains out there. It's tough, when you need to pay off $11K, it's not like he can coast, and if he comes in 12th, yeah, it's a fine showing. That's not going to get it done when you're priced up there. So more often than not, sadly, I'm not going to take the aggressive stand. I'll probably just pay up for Rahm, or I'll completely omit it and take like a Aaron Wise answer combo and build very balanced. So wait and see for me with Justin Rose.
Sure. And so I think one of the important things to bring up, or at least a question that I would have to you is, do you think that the people outside of, say, the people giving the information and the people receiving it, the casual DFS players that come in, do you think they know about the Rose Club change? Do you think if they did, it would affect them putting him in his lineup? Not many people still know Cantlay. You think the casual players, if they are playing this week, are just going to go to him anyway?
I think it's more Rose and Rahm in that situation where people are, they've seen Rahm a little more. He's obviously played well. He won not that it was a big event, but he won the Hero. Then he was at the Tournament Champions. Rose didn't play there. I think that's where the boost. Cantlay definitely for casuals is not in that tier. When you get up in higher stakes, I think that people are going to know about Justin Rose for sure. They're also going to know that Patrick Cantlay is. I know you love him certainly more than I do, but he's a damn good player. There's no doubt about that. It's just for me weighing. I like Rahm a lot more than Rose, but at some point the ownership tips where you're like, okay, I need to allocate some shares just on principle.
Yeah, especially in the lower dollar MMEs. The higher up you go, obviously you don't need to hit as of the nuts as you do in the $5. I mean, last week the $5 the winning lineup was ridiculous. It was 1, 2, 3, 3, 3, 15, something like that. It was absolutely insane. So you don't need to do that in the $300. So that's why I'm not inclined to say, all right, well, you know what, if Rose ends up winning, he's going to be low owned more than likely, like you said, in the higher dollars. He probably won't hurt me as much, but could create some leverage in the lower stakes. So, all right, one more buy or sell. Zach Johnson looks like he could be 17 to 20% owned again. The price is $7,700. But man, it just didn't. It looked shaky. It looked like he was. We talked about it last week. A new caddy, a new person to look at. These are just. It's funny that two of the guys that we're talking about again this week were on our blip in this segment last time. What do you make of Zach Johnson, and what are you going to do with him?
Oh boy, I broke a cardinal rule. I finally played Zach Johnson last week. This is what you get for going against my brand. I cannot stand that guy. Not to go on a little tangent, but he birdied 17 just to get to the par 5 to not birdie it. Like,
were you watching coverage?
Oh yeah, I was because he
almost pulled it out on 17. It should have been a hole in one.
It was what a dart, and then just makes the putt and then can't get the birdie. That killed some of my best lineups. But so here's the thing with him. The irons were good last week. That was the one thing he did. He was bad off the tee.
Yep.
I don't mind going back, in cash, which is what he's good at. He's steady, reliable. It's more of an opportunity cost in tournaments just because of his price point. Not that it's overly expensive. I just happen to like a lot of guys from like 7,500 to 8K. So he's in there, but man, he's got to take a number because there's a bunch of other guys that I'm very interested in.
Yeah, and what is at a course like this where we know par 5s reign supreme, and granted he could birdie every single one of them, but it's likely he's not getting too many eagles. The course history is rather spotty. A third place, a 20th, surrounded by 3 missed cuts. I'm leaning with you. I'm on pretty much a full fade of Zach Johnson right now. I just want to see that this caddy split is gonna be positive for him, which I think it will eventually. I think it always does. But for me, 7,700, I just don't think there's upside this week for me to play him. And if he's going to be 20% owned, I will gladly take, I'll go to Neiman at 20% and play him double the field, or I'll go one more down to your guy at 5%, Dylan Fratelli, who had one bad round. And I wanted to ask you about this. I looked at it. It was on Friday. He lost over 2 strokes on his approaches on Friday. I couldn't find out why. It was kind of an anomaly because the other 3 rounds were good. Are you going right back to him this week? Because I am. Absolutely.
Yeah. He played. It didn't, like you said, it didn't click fully, but he was able to find the weekend. Off the tee was great. Irons were not up to par. That's just a guy I'm going to be overweight on until the price adjusts. I think he's just a better player than most people do. You mentioned Neiman, of course, going to be popular. I'm going to throw out, you got right there. Bud Cauley's a guy that he got derailed. He's 7,400. He obviously had the car accident last year. I think he comes in with pretty good form. I'm glad he played during the swing season a bit. Then there's a bunch of other guys. I have to mention Peter Uihlein. I always play him. Very risky. Richie Wawrinski's there. And these are just the type of guys. I don't love any of them, but Zach Johnson, it's not a 1v1 where it's like, oh, he has to beat this guy. He has to beat 5 or 6 guys that I think all have a very reasonable chance to perform.
Yeah, absolutely. It is. There's a ton of guys, and that ownership on Zach Johnson really scares me.
Berger's there too. What are you doing with him? That clown.
Not playing him. Not
Okay.
will not play him until I know that he's fully healthy. Again, when you got somebody like Werenski who's come up, and honestly, I know that Berger had a tremendous run in his first couple of years, winning the FedEx St. Jude a couple of times. You know, he had the best tee time draw of the entire year, along with Tony Finau at the U.S. Open to get him into contention. And, you know, we saw what happened on Sunday when, you know, the conditions were like everybody else's. Yeah, I want to see the winning talent come back. And even at the FedEx St. Jude last year, where he's won back-to-back times, he struggled to make the cut. He's hurt. There's no doubt about it. So I'm not playing him, especially when you got guys that are, you know, Corey Connors, 3 top 10s in the last 6 tries, you know, tons of upside. Werenski, same thing. Waiting for Fratelli to break through into that top 10. He's made the cuts, you know, 5 straight on the PGA Tour. So plenty of other guys around. I don't think you need to go to Berger. The world golf ranking models will tell you to do such, but that's a little more noise to me at this point.
I'm with you. Yeah, I mean, obviously, when I was scrolling through, it was like, oh, first of all, he's been just an afterthought. I have not thought about that. You know, he's just not been on the mind because he hasn't played. He's the kind of guy, I think, that this is where early in the season you have to be cognizant of this stuff. We don't know where he is health-wise, where his game is at. And it's very possible that he's going to take some lumps to get ready for what he cares about, which is the meat of the season. And that's just not here yet.
Yep, absolutely. All right, so we mentioned a lot of these guys, and this is fun. We just did. So we're going to play the Make the Cut segment. I picked 13 guys, and 13 is just it's a fun number. Obviously, there's a lot of backing to it. It's one of my favorite numbers. So Peter Uihlein, starting on the Stadium course, a little tough, but we'll go right off the bat. What do you think?
I'm going to say he gets through. He better get through because I do have him as one of my aggressive, certainly not anyone I'd look to in cash. But, you know, he's a guy that I'll say this, you know, he definitely took some struggles. There was an adjustment coming over from Europe. I thought he would be better. He's shown some life lately. You know, he was good in the swing season. He's coming off, I know it's a layoff, but he was 7th at RSM, better during the FedEx Cup play. I think he starts this year off much better than we've seen. So I'll say he gets through.
Good. Okay. I'm in as well. Again, beginning of the week, I was a little nervous, but I think he's going to reign. His par 5 scoring this year has been very, very good, and he's going to crush those this week. He's going to face 4 every day, so plenty of birdie opportunities for him. So I'm going to go with yes. Next one, which this kind of falls. I wish he was cheaper because he would be higher owned, and I don't think he's going to be playing on Sunday. So I kind of give my answer away. Is Andrew Putnam. Great week last week, but I watched every round and every shot that I could of him. And as the weekend progressed, the more tired he looked. And obviously not getting the win against Kuchar, I think that's going to take a lot out of him. I just don't need to pay $9,700 for him.
Oh yeah, he will be on 0% of my lineups. He gained, and you know what? A lot of people played him. I know you were on him, and hey, it was well done. He gained 11 strokes putting. That's massive. So that's a big thing. He's got to be a little better off the tee. I'm with you in the sense that guys that are, you know, especially guys that aren't super well known, when they have a near breakthrough and win, to come back the next week and start all over, I do think that takes something out of you. You know, it's a grind. A lot of those guys, more often than not, you know, they make the weekend and they have 2 relaxing days in the sense they're just trying to make some money, move up in FedEx. To play 72 intense holes like that, he was in that tournament from start to finish.
Yeah, he really was.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely.
He had the lead on Sunday on the front 9 even. So I'm just going to take the fade here. I don't think the ownership is going to be that high, but I don't think he's going to make the cut Sunday. So, all right, next one. This one's kind of fun. He's in a good price range that if you are playing Rahm and Cantlay and you want to put them with, say, somebody like Abraham Answer, who you just mentioned, you're going to need some 7,200 guys to make the cut for you. So a fun name that kind of popped at the end of last year, Brunson Burgoon. You see him playing Sunday.
Ooh, boy, I'm probably going to get flamed in chat. Yeah. We have some Brunson Burgoon fanboys in our premium Slack chat, some good friends of the show. Yep. I'm going to say Brunson Burgoon does not find the weekend though. It's close for me. I wouldn't hate it, but he'll get his 54 holes. He'll get his 3 rounds, but I don't think we see him Sunday.
You think he gets over 60 DraftKings points in those 3 rounds? Because that could get some value by Sunday.
He is the type of guy, I will say, he's a great driver of the ball. He should be able to take apart these par 5s. So it is feasible that it's not. And obviously, we're not going to step back too much, but it's worth noting you can be a little more aggressive because you're getting, you're not as punished for a miscut. You're going to need 6 of 6 to take down big field tournaments, but it is nicer to not have to play man down for 2 days. You're only playing down for one day.
Yep, absolutely. All right, next one that is he's showing up in my model, and he's a guy that when he played on the web.com tour last year, he was in the top 10. He pretty much made every cut. And he was a guy that I think most people were surprised that he was even on the web. And that's Roberto Castro. He's a guy that almost won 2 PGA Tour tournaments 2 years ago and came runner-up in both of them. One of the ones had a really crazy ruling down the stretch that he was on the wrong side of. He lost another one in a playoff for I think it was a 6-hole playoff. He made some incredible shots to stay in it. So anyway, 6,900. Yeah, the Wells Fargo, yep. 6,900. Are you going to buy into Roberto Castro yet?
I am. Here's a guy that I don't expect him to be overly popular, and his irons have just been crisp since we've really seen him. They've been good. The putter fluctuates. Off the tee has been bad. That's what's really going to need to improve. But, in a tournament like this where I think he can these are shorter courses, keep it in the fairway, attack these easy pins because it's a pro-am. They're not going to be setting up brutal pins for Larry the Cable Guy and whoever the hell else is out there. So I think that someone like Roberto Castro is definitely a worthwhile flyer. I think he makes Sunday.
Okay. I'm actually going to go along with you. It just looks like he's kind of picking his spots to play in. I do think that he's probably a little bit better talent than the web.com tour. He's shown it over his PGA Tour career. So I'll buy into that there. The other one, I think we're going to get 2 yeses, but I don't want to talk for you. Jason Kokrak came in pretty decent fall. Good course history. You think he'll play Sunday, or are you going to take the other side here?
I'm going to go no. Again, another guy that very long can attack these par 5s. He's really got to shore up. And I know this is not the course per se to take advantage. His deficiencies around the green are horrendous. His scrambling, his ability to just get up and down when he's missing greens, it's really, it's a problem. So I'm going to say no. I will use the caveat that I'm not sure this is the week where that's fully exposed. This isn't a tournament where, it's not Valspar where you're going to be scrambling up and down. Mm-hmm. But if he's a little off, he better hope his irons are crisp because I could see him getting into trouble, even though he should take advantage of the par 5s.
Definitely. That's definitely a good one. Next one, I talked about him earlier in the show that I was going to be on him, then I got off him, then I'm back on him now, is Anders Albertson. Great ball striker. He actually, I was talking to somebody earlier today. He does remind me of Cantlay in the sense that he is so bad around the greens, but his tee to green game is pretty elite. Almost in every tournament that he's been in the top 10. So definitely a stat to look at. He doesn't have the fearlessness on the greens that Cantlay does. I've noticed when I've been watching his shot tracker, he leaves a lot of them short, which just says to me that he's tentative on the greens, which if you look at Cantlay's, that's not how Cantlay putts, and I believe that's why Cantlay makes a lot as well as misses some. But do you think Albertson is around on Sunday?
That's a tough one.
He's kind of popular too this week, actually.
Yeah, so I'll say this. I think there's a decent chance he makes it. I'm not playing him on DraftKings. If he was in the 6s, I would get there. There's just too many guys. You said it, though. I mean, we have a limited sample size. Tee to green, it's impressive. He really hasn't clicked with the putter just yet. It has been bad. Around the green also not the best, but he's had some tournaments. Obviously, I believe it was Sanderson Farms stands out where he was. I mean, he gained 10 strokes on the approach. I know that's an outlier, but just being capable of doing that is very impressive. So it's a guy that I'm kind of indifferent to. Don't think I get there for DFS purposes though.
Okay, this one I'm going to ask you every week he's playing because it's going to be fun watching this volatile ride, and I play him, and I'll probably continue to for a little while. I don't play him at a high clip, but last week, he can't avoid the double bogeys. And I'm talking about Sam Burns. He had a couple of eagles over the first 2 days, or at least one eagle and another couple of tries. Very good looks. He can't avoid the big numbers. Is that just an avoid for you until he can reduce those bogeys and double bogeys?
For the most part, I will say, when if you're playing a bunch of lineups, he's the type of guy I think it's a pretty easy sell to make your portfolio, because when you're that volatile, if you just keep it together, his upside is through the roof. Miscut equity is gigantic. You're getting the extra round.
That's huge.
I don't think it's all there, to be honest, just yet. But at the same time, somebody is going to buy early on that guy and get it right one of these weeks, because he's got that upside.
This is a course, again, last week was not a course where off the tee really benefited you that much, in the sense that length helped you. Granted, could you gain strokes off the tee with 300-yard drives last week? Yeah, you definitely could have. This week, you're going to be able to gain it with 340-yard drives, which he'll be able to do. So I do like him a little bit better as a course fit, but that doesn't mean he's a statistical fit right now. It's just not that good. Do I think he's going to be there Sunday? I don't know. I think he could be one of those guys that if there's 78 or more golfers, only the top 60 end up playing on Sunday. That weird rule about this tournament?
So I'm glad you want to explain upon that, because I wanted to talk about that.
Yeah. So as everybody knows, the regular MDF rule on Saturday is if there's more than 78 golfers, there will be a secondary cut on Saturday. Well, on this one, what happens is if there's more than 78 golfers on Saturday that are under the cut line, only the top 60 golfers will go to Sunday, but everybody gets paid in the top 78. Of course, that doesn't matter to us for DFS purposes. It matters to the golfers to get paid, but we don't care. Mm-hmm. So it has come into play. It did not come into play last year. It came into play the year before. And I can kind of just see with the way these fields have been going. Like last week, we had Fratelli, who came in 51st and was 3 shots out of a top 25. These fields are condensed. The fields are getting closer. I think it could come into play this week, and it's something that's definitely going to put me on tilt.
Yeah, especially it's just good to know, because I know there's some people watching the show. Obviously, there's going to be a whole bunch of people who are going to be sadly, very upset if they don't know that. And you think you got your guys through, and it actually ends up just moving that cut line. So yeah, it's a unique tournament. We're not going to have to deal with this too often. I think there might be one. It's a very atypical 54-hole cut.
Yep, absolutely. All right, I got. Let's see, a couple more, and we can go kind of faster on these ones because
we'll go rapid
flyers. But the last two are actually very important ones. So Cam Davis, very similar to Sam Burns.
He is another guy. I'll say the same thing I said. Someone's going to buy early on him and get it right. I don't think it's there just yet. I may sprinkle, but I don't think you can make him a core play just yet.
Yeah, it looked even worse than Sam Burns last week, so I'm going to go no. Yeah. Alex Prue, though, going the other way, and could it be Prug, or I think it's Prue, right? I'm almost positive.
I'm the worst with names, so you can say anything.
Strokes gain approach looked really good. I think that the form does continue, and I got him playing on Sunday.
It's one of my favorite plays. He's in a price range that's unique, so I think that serves a purpose. I don't think many of my lineups are going to fall where I need someone at 6.6, but if I do, I feel pretty comfortable taking the stand with him. Just playing good golf. I think he finds Sunday. Doesn't need a ton. You hope he can T20 and kind of be the anchor of the back end of your lineup.
Yep, absolutely. A couple more. Danny Willett. I always like to talk about him, Masters champion. But ready for this? He won in his last start. He actually won a sanctioned European Tour event. Maybe he's back. Listen, to me, he's the worst Masters champion in the history of the tournament. I apologize to Danny Willett if you're watching this show, but that's the way I feel. You think he makes Sunday, though?
I don't. Danny Willett, it's an anomaly. All of it. It seemed like he was going to be very good. Then it seemed like he was completely done. He obviously has fallen somewhere in the middle. He's the kind of guy, I'm not going to be playing enough lineups where if he burns me, so be it. He won't be too popular. So I think that I can get away with not having any Willett.
Yeah, I'm going to take the stance that he's going to play Sunday, but I'm not playing him.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's true too. Because you were just talking about this last week. If you're playing, say we're talking a giant field, the $5. Danny will, there's going to be plenty of guys who can make Sunday and are not going to be pertinent on GPPs. You need that ceiling. I'm not sure he's there just yet.
Agreed. And I think he won the tournament. I think the reason why I think he's going to be there on Sunday is he had a chance, obviously, to play in Abu Dhabi this week, and that's a big time tournament for the Euro Tour. So interesting that he chose kind of an off-site, PGA Tour event. Granted, I can see why Rahm and Rose maybe did it. Rahm, obviously, defending champ. Rose hasn't played over here yet, but Willett's kind of that secondary character that I feel like can't afford to miss Rolex Series events. But again, maybe there's a reason to that. So that's why I got him playing. All right, Kevin Streelman, popular a bit. You don't have to give me too much. You think he's going to be there on Sunday?
I don't. He's the guy. He when I like to play him, he's usually a fringe cash play. Not going to get there this week.
Yep. All right. I think your answer is yes here. Zach Johnson?
God, he better. I have him in cash, so I do think he makes Sunday.
All right. I'm going with no. I just don't think it's there right now. And last one on this, and this is a really interesting one because, again, statistical fit seems pretty good. He's not terribly local. He's a California guy, and he grew up. Next week is more of a home game for him than this week. But JJ Spawn, price kind of high. Couple missed cuts.
JJ Spawn. What are we going to do with you, JJ Spawn?
I know,
Him and CT Pan are in that range where they were guys that everyone was saying they're going to break through. Then they didn't. Now they're a little quieter. I do think Spawn, can just lean on the approach, lean on the iron game and get through. But as you just said, getting through for him is not enough. He needs to play pretty well. That makes it a pretty tough sell.
It does. Absolutely. So in one of our in our premium chat in Slack, if you guys aren't members, come join. We have a lot of fun in there. So we got a few that I want to fire at you. These are for just strictly for MMA. Quick fire. He just wants a yes or a no. Charles Schwartzel. That's an interesting name.
Oh God, no. He will be in trouble.
All right. Johnny Vegas.
No. What about you? I want to hear about Johnny Vegas. You have any interest?
A teeny bit. Okay. He is a true peak when you don't expect him to guy. So I wouldn't be surprised. Like, RBC missed like 9,000 cuts and then he wins back-to-back years. So maybe a teeny bit because he has that win equity upside. We've seen him win in the last couple of years. All right, Charlie Hoffman, speaking of winning the last couple of years, how about a guy who hasn't had a top 10 since that Masters run in a sanctioned event other than the Hero Open? What are you doing with Charlie?
That's tough. He's another one. Just, I know my theme of this week is getting that area right. He's minus 100 from Neiman, I believe. He's 7,500. He's towards the back of the list. I prefer, the younger, like Wawrinski guys who are just in better form. I know Charlie Hoffman's a better player. Don't think I'm going to have a lot. Put him similar to Berger in my book, honestly.
All right, one more name that I like, and some of these ones are definitely like Sun JM. I'm sure that you and I are both playing. Russell Henley, I'm not playing, but one that I'm actually interested in, and he's got a couple of good starts here. He was supposed to be this country's next star, and he was kind of passed over last year by Shubhankar Sharma. Talking about Anirban Lahiri from India. Couple of good starts here. You gonna dart fire?
I have a soft spot for Lahiri.
Okay.
I think he's the guy. I think he benefits from shorter courses, easier. He's got to shore up the approaches. He actually putted very well last week, and it didn't translate because his approach game was bad. Dark horse GPP guy. I'm gonna have a little Lahiri. 7,300. Not gonna be too popular.
Yeah, he won't be popular. He never really is too much. He had that big finish at the PGA a couple of years ago. I do like the price. He is statistically a good putter, so that doesn't concern me too much that he wasn't getting strokes on the approach. I think that can maybe come around. I hope it is, because he's notoriously a good ball striker as well. So I will. I'll buy into him making the cut for Sunday and probably having a good performance. I think he's a nice compliment. When you put Rahm in there, if you go Rahm answer, you need a lot of guys at 72, 73, 74. So he's definitely in that player pool for me this week in that range.
Yeah, he's, that I agree, because I did build some before the show and I have some Rahm lineups. I got funneled there. So, it's Chris Kirk, We talked about Burgoon, who I'm not super into. Lahiri, Brian Gay is there, who gained another one. He gained like 10 strokes putting last week. That's
crazy.
It's hard to sustain that. Needs to shore up the irons. Going to be mixing and matching, so I'm with you there.
All right. So I've got a couple of ownership ones that I know people love to talk about. So I just want you to take the over/under here. And earlier in the week, I got these numbers basically from the beginning of the week. So Monday I went and looked, and the first ownership projections that came out in the industry, I basically just jotted them down just to see with no looking, since, I have an idea of which way these guys have moved, of course, but I'm interested to hear which way you're going to go. Okay. Beginning of the week, Rose was projected at 21%.
Yeah, I'm taking under on that. I think this club thing and just the ROM steam, I think he hits the teens, not going to get over 20%.
And do you see any type of leverage to go 30% in the MME, or is it just not quite yet?
I don't think I can get there. My plan with someone like Rose is try to be sneaky, maybe play like 20% and hope I get leverage by him coming in at like 13%.
I think he's going to play. I think he's going to still come in at 20. I think it's going to really test the casual fans' knowledge and what they attribute to what a golfer can do good and not good. So I still think he comes in at 20. I'm very interested to hear. And this is going to kind of lead into your next one is can't lay over 25%. I
think that's pretty fair. I think he'll be I'll say plus or minus a couple percent. That's the number I have in mind. Yep. I think he'll be more than Rose. I'll say that much for sure.
Next one, really interesting one for me. Neiman was projected at about 21. I'm putting it at 25 because I think it's going to be higher. Are you with me?
I'm with you. There are a lot of one-offs. We've talked about a bunch of them in this show. But the thing is, I think most people are going to have more than one guy in that range. So it's not like, I'm going to play Richard Wierenski. They also might have Neiman in that same lineup. I think the ownership is in the 20s, but more towards 25, 30 than low 20 teens. So yeah, I'll take the over.
I think this is a really nice pivot because he's definitely gaining popularity and playing well. Corey Connors projected at 15%. Do you think that people end up stacking Connors Neiman, or do you think that Connors, because Neiman is so cheap, Connors may come down a little bit in ownership?
I think he comes down. So, I with Neiman, we've seen him. People know him a little more. Obviously, had a good run last year for sure. I think other than him, though, there's going to be a bunch of guys hovering around 10%. Connors, to me, is certainly in that group. There's just a bunch of them. We talked about it's like two schools. You have the new guys, younger guys playing well. Then you have like Hoffman, Berger, Zach Johnson, names that people are more familiar with being in tougher fields than this, but they're not playing too well. I think that disperses the ownership somewhat. So I'll take the under there.
Berger, 10%.
Ooh. I think it's going to get over. I'm not going to have any. I'm taking a stay. I have 0%.
Yep. I might have one lineup. In that one lineup will be Berger, Hoffman, Johnson, all these kind of guys that we're talking about. So kind of a sneaky name that I saw at 10% this week, and I think he comes under is Bo Hostler.
Oh, boy. I think he gets over. I'm going to play him. I'm overweight on him. I'll say that. Can get crazy hot with the putter. He better get his irons. Another one where that's the missing link of that game. But he's a guy that, I think he's flat. What's he like? Flat 8K? I don't have the price in front of me. Boha, 8,000. So he's right next to Sunjay Im. I think that he makes a decent play. If you can get him as maybe your third piece in lineups, not bad.
Yep. All right. Answer 15%. It's a nice level for him. I hope it doesn't get higher. What do you think?
I think it's going to get higher. He's just been playing well for a while. Aaron Wise is there. He's going to take some ownership. But at the same time, I think the problem for him is that you can play Rahm, Rose, or Cantlay and still play Answer as your second piece. If it made it a little harder to build at the bottom, he would be in a dead zone. But that's not the case. The dead zone is like Charles Howell.
Yeah, Charles Howell, Adam Hadwin, that
area. Exactly.
All right, you have any that you want to test my knowledge on, or do you think I covered some hot ones?
those are obviously some dudes. I just want to throw a couple names at you. Not even just on the ownership side, just in general. Ownership thoughts included. First one is Phil. We haven't talked about Phil at all.
Wow, how have we gone? We've gone 43 minutes in a weak field, and we haven't talked about Phil. Do you think that might make it that everybody's not thinking about Phil, or is there a reason everyone's not thinking about him?
I think both of those are true. Yeah, people aren't thinking about him. At the same time, you said it. This is a super weak field. He's not. I mean, he's expensive, of course, but he's not overly expensive. He's $9,500.
Yeah, he's not Charles Howell expensive.
I mean, Andrew Putnam's $200 more than him. I didn't think we'd see that day.
Not yet, at least. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have any interest there?
I have built about 20 lineups before I came on. He hadn't made it yet, but that's because Answer's cheaper than him, and I'm just high on him right now.
Okay.
So it's going to be hard for me. Maybe if I have one of 150 lineups that don't have Rahm or Cantlay in it, maybe he'll get in it instead of the Rahm or Cantlay, and it'll be a really balanced lineup for me. But I don't have a ton of interest. More interest than I do Hadwin or Howell, definitely. And that's why I think if it comes down to the, player pool, he may end up at 10% for me, that type of area.
Fair enough. So here's a guy that I think he's going to be, if you play 10% of this guy, you're actually going to come in underweight. It's Hudson Swafford, who he's playing well. He's a past champion here. Personally, I'll just throw it out there. I get why people want to play him. I see nothing wrong with it. I'm going to come in underweight. Do you think you can get leverage there, with in your MME portfolio?
On FanDuel, I'm just going to get all my exposure and deal with it if he kills me on DraftKings. He's so cheap on FanDuel. I don't know why. And these are when a situation like this happens where he's going to be the chalk on DraftKings at a higher price than he is on FanDuel. I'll take my medicine, I guess, so to speak, and say, you know what? I'm going to hope that he ends up in 25th place because I'm still going to get value on FanDuel and I'm going to beat the leverage on DraftKings. So that's exactly what I'm going to do. He's going to be in my high dollar on FanDuel and on my MMEs.
That's a fine way. We're obviously we've got 3 sites now with Yahoo as well, and I'll hop in Slack as a friend of the show, good guy, Eagles, definitely playing on Yahoo. I will get some picks there as well.
Yes,
I want to ask you about your boy. Do you have any interest in trying to right the Ollie ship, or are you just saying he's done?
So it looked like he was going to make the cut. I was getting real excited. He got to 3 under on Friday. 3 under. He comes to, I think it's 2, and he didn't even hit it in the water. I'm like, oh, all right. He got by the water. He's not going to hit it. No, his approach shot went in the water. He dropped in the bunker, I think, and then left it in the bunker, and then flew it on the green, and then 4-putted for an 8.
Yeah, I saw the snowman.
-3 to +2. One other bogey coming in, and then a birdie on the 9th, his 18th hole. Man, it's so sad. It's just he needs a haircut and put a hat on. We need to change it up here because Damon Green is not going to do it. I'm out.
Bad. Yeah, I can't get there. He's just it's not happening. God, it's sad too. I really thought Ollie was going to be. At one point, he seemed like he was really primed to be.
He almost won the British Open.
Like very, very good.
He almost won the British Open as an amateur, and here we are.
Smiley down the tubes, but
yeah, maybe he will figure it out at some point this year, but it is not this week, in my opinion.
With you. Before we get into anything else, as Emac just said, if you can hit the like button, we would appreciate it. Love the show. We're going to be doing this all year for sure. And don't worry, we have the one segment. We still have our egregious take at the end of the show. I'm trying, as we're working through this, I'm trying to think what I want to do. I think I'm going to go with one of my dark horse guys who I haven't mentioned yet. I'll save that right to the end. But what else? Is there anything else in terms of players? I know we covered a bunch of guys. Do you have some head-to-heads you want to talk about?
Yeah, let's go into head-to-heads. Again, I like the more round by round. This week, at least the book that I was looking at, and all the books offer different matchups. I'm not going to lie. But the one that I was looking at, super sharp for tournament matchups this week. I don't know if you saw the same thing.
I don't actually have any golf bets. I bet some, in Abu Dhabi, a couple things here and there, but nothing. This is one I didn't want to force it. This is such a unique just everything about this week is kind of odd.
Yep.
I didn't have much, so yeah, I'm with you in that regard.
All right, so I got some round matchups though because they are gonna give the pairings off. So Sung J M versus Cam Davis. I mean, one guy's in form and the other guy's out of form. It's only a half a stroke. Sung J M to me is a no brainer. Cantlay against Patton Kazir. That just seems like a lopsided matchup. I understand Patton's in a little bit of good form, but we're talking about two courses that he literally are probably his two favorite courses on the rotation in Kapalua and Wailea. So Cantlay, obviously, for me there. Rahm versus Reavie. I'm going to take Rahm 100 times out of 100 and deal with the 10 times Reavie might beat him. Might be a little more than 10, but I'm just going to deal with that. And then the last one is Justin Rose versus Zach Johnson. I'm going to take Justin Rose and his new clubs over Zach Johnson until Johnson shows he beats me. Again, these are just tomorrow, so you can totally go against me or agree. Any different take?
Yeah, so that's good. So these are just tomorrow, and it's worth noting, obviously, they're, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, I'm just looking at the sheet, minus 140, so there is a little juice attached to it. I'm with you on the first three. I like it. The one, if I had to take a stand, and I think it's just because we differ a little on ZJ, I think he can muster it up. Rose is a question mark in my book in terms of maybe the clubs are an issue. Those first three, though, you talked about it. Sunjay Im is just in a different tier than Cam Davis. Cantlay and Kazir, same thing. And then Rahm, to me, is obviously one of the safest guys to play well. It is one round, so who the hell knows? But at the same time, pretty comfortable if you do want to take some stands tomorrow and have some fun.
Absolutely. All right. So one story that I like to bring a little bit of golf, I guess I'll call it golf journalism, into our show is I like to bring up kind of the stories that I saw from around the week in the first 3 days. It might be from an interview or something on Twitter that I saw. One thing is Marty Zachang Doe won the Bahamas event today for the web.com. If you guys don't know Marty Zachang, he did not do well on the PGA Tour last year, but he's a 21-year-old and he's got a great personality, and he had a great interview and last year, and I grew in a little affinity to him. I didn't play him that much just because I didn't see anything, but worth noting, he won by 2 down there in the Bahamas, so likely that means we'll probably see him again next year. And then the next one, which this one is just, it's getting hotter and hotter every day, and it's the Tom Gillis, who's a former PGA Tour pro. If you've been playing DFS golf long enough, you've rostered this guy more than likely once. He came out a couple of days ago and talked about Matt Kuchar not tipping his caddy down in Mexico after Kuchar won the event. Only gave him $5,000 when he probably should have at minimum given him about 30, given the normalized tipping rate for a caddy on a win. What do you make of that? Have you heard anything? Are you kind of laughing at it, or what?
Cooch, man, that is not a good look.
It's not.
The toucan, whatever that guy's name is, does that mean the toucan? That's, first of all, just on that guy's name alone, you should be tipping him because that's a sick name. Yeah, it's not a good look. Obviously, don't be giving people. I mean, he may, first of all,
1.23 million, and he has 46 million in career earnings.
All of this is true. Who knows? It is what it is. I have no idea. It's his money. He can do what he wants, but at the same time, you could change a guy's life. That story, I was more just shocked that it came out of nowhere and it picked up a lot of steam really fast.
Super quick. I mean, everybody in the Golf Journal world on the online medias, which they're really taking over, no laying up in those guys. They ran it and just taken off. So I'd like to bring in a little bit of golf to this before we go to our hottest takes of the week. And I'm excited to hear yours. And if we end up on the same hottest take, oh boy, that's going to be trouble. So
I'll leave the show because there's no chance that your hot take is even related to mine.
All right,
you want me to go first? So I will say that my hot take last week was that Cam Champ was going to miss the cut, which sort of worked.
Sort of happened. It kind of did. Yeah.
I'm taking a 0.5 there. Yep. So this week, and this is a guy that I brought up last week, I'm going to continue to play him. His name is Ryan Blom. As I said on the show last week, nobody will play him. He's perpetually 1% owned. And I'm not saying that he made a cut and he played pretty poorly. However, he does riding a hot putter. I'm going to say that this is the week he connects the dots, not that he's winning. I'm going to say that Ryan Blom breaks through and gets in the top 10.
I like it. I think that's a A pretty solid
Pretty hot.
hot take. Yep. I like it. So one of the guys that last year, and it's kind of a theme with this guy, that when he's coming down the stretch, if there's water in play to make the cut, you can almost guarantee he's not going to make it. But it adds an element of fun, and it is Ryan Palmer.
Oh,
8,200. I got him top 5. I actually think his game is in really good form. He is 6% owned on DraftKings, and if he top 5s, that's my hot take. You're going to gain a significant advantage on the field. So I think everything's clicking for him, and I got him returning to some pretty good form, and maybe making it all the way to the Tour Championship if he keeps it up. So
he did look very good. We don't have the stats from Korea. He was great at the CJ Cup. Yep. Went to where was that, RSM? No, Shriners. Another top 10 showing. So you're right. Swing season. He's another guy. I believe you said this with Ches last week. Kind of a form golfer. When he lost it, he was horrendous. He couldn't putt. He couldn't drive it. He will find water. There's no doubt. That guy, he hits it. He truly hits it into water when there's courses where there's no water. It's just like, into stream. It's like nobody else.
Yeah, right.
How it's not like he's playing Honda. He's just in water perpetually.
And when the Honda comes, don't roster him, because I did last year, and literally exactly what we're talking about. He was 2 under. He head to the bear trap and forget about it. He did not make the cut. So really funny. So any other hot takes or anything you want to give as a note? There's one thing that I will say that you mentioned at the top of the show that I want to talk about, just a tiny edge, is that in the showdown formats, in the smaller dollar, the $8 buy-in, or maybe some of these smaller dollar buy-ins, obviously the 275 and the 300, everybody knows this, but don't play people on the stadium course on the first 3 days. Their scoring is just not as good. Now, again, you could go for an ownership angle there, no doubt about it, but statistically, the Nicklaus course and La Quinta are 3 strokes under par, each of them, while the stadium course is only about 1.2. So you're giving up a significant edge if you don't stack your players that are playing the other 2 courses on the showdown format. So just take note of that. And actually on the weekend as well, you might want to look at the guys that are not playing stadium course both days.
And people aren't going to, there's going to be a ton of people who realize that. There's also going to be a segment of people who play showdown and are not going to realize that. So you can just get you're almost, not that they can't win, but you're essentially playing almost rate free just by not making that mistake. Then you got to pick golfers, but there is no reason that you should play someone on the stadium course in showdown. It's just a bad idea. The course is harder than the other 2. So why would you do that?
And if books are offering first round leader odds, same exact thing. Look at guys that are starting at the other 2. I think only 1 in the last 10 years has come from the stadium course. So
Bovada actually, and I've never seen this, Bovada split their first round leader 3 ways. So you see what your book is offering. For me, honestly, my advice, this is a week I'm playing reduced volume. I would love to. I'm excited for golf to be back. I was very into Sony last week. This is just a bad one for me. I think it's just a tough way to attack. We don't have shot tracker on 2 of these courses. There's, you got to, with the weather, there's 3 of them. It is what it is. So I'm treating it as I want to get a look at some of these golfers. I'm going to pick a couple of guys like Fratelli comes to mind to buy early. And because if they start playing well, they're going to be 8,500 and double, triple ownership. Yep. So you want to pick a couple guys and say, I think I can jump on them before the masses get there. This is the kind of event to do that because it's wide open. We only have a couple top tier players even here.
Yeah, and you take a look. It's a great point. You take a look at next week, and we've got, I think it's like already 12 or at least 10 of the top 20 golfers in the world competing next week. This week, we've got 3. So just, take that into consideration. Take the Flyers this week, pair them up with those studs up at the top, and yeah, good luck at the Desert Classic. Remember, it's the 3 rounds.
3 rounds. So yeah, don't panic. You got plenty of time to right the ship. Especially public service announcement, Chad. I know I love you and I love tilting in there. If your guy is playing stadium course tomorrow and he has a middling round, don't worry. He has the 2 easy courses left.
In fact, if he comes around even par, he's probably above the field. So
he's going to pick up strokes. Like if he's at La Quinta, then you can complain. Obviously, keep us, come on in, join Slack, join the site. We have a ton of stuff, articles, my articles behind the paywall. Jason's got models, plenty of articles too. Nolan, we have a whole team over here, and that's just golf. We have all the other sports. Football's winding down, but basketball's, going on a lot of craziness. Anything else before we get on out of here? Think we're good? All right, everyone.
You said, you can give our little shtick one more time.
Yeah.
But it definitely really helps the show out.
No, it definitely does, and we appreciate it. This is always, fun show. Love it every week, and obviously we're going to be gearing up. This is one of the last warm-ups. Now it's going to get super serious, as you just alluded to. Big names, Tiger, all that's coming fast and furious. So good luck this week. Hope someone takes something down. Hit us in Twitter, Slack if you have any questions, and we'll see you back here next week.
Good show, guys.
Look at that. Right on the